We got Violent Bob Ross back here on the program. Luis Pena, who's going to be taking on Mike Trizano at UFC Fight Night 139 on November 10th. Luis, how are you, man?
And I'm doing great here. I'm actually in Colorado Springs right now, getting ready for the fight next week.
Your home gym right now, anyways, has been American Kickboxing Academy. And of course, one of the guys you've had a chance to train with, Khabib Nurmagomedov, defended his title. How cool was that, being a part of his camp and seeing him, kind of make history here, defeating Conor McGregor?
That was amazing. I've always been a huge Khabib fan since the time he first signed with the UFC. I told a lot of my friends back then, like, this is going to be the guy that ends up being the champion. And to see him go out there and deal with all the press and deal with everything, all the mental challenges that were thrown his way, just kind of walk through it like it was nothing, and essentially walk through that fight like it was nothing, was amazing to me. It was great, especially seeing him drop Conor after everyone said, oh, Khabib's got no striking, yada yada yada, all that stuff. Like, it was just really, it was really awesome for me.
And another guy I know you've gotten in some work with is Joe Giannetti, who's actually, at the time we're recording this, is fighting tomorrow night for Cage Titans. How much has he helped you for this camp?
Oh, without a doubt. Joe and Kyle Driscoll, my roommate, were probably my two main sparring partners for this camp. And Joe gave me, a lot of inside tips on, things that Trizano might do and things that he like some of his tendencies. So he was a really, really great help for this camp. I can't thank him enough. He actually lived at our house the entire time he was there.
Yeah. So who were you staying with again? Because I remember you were in like an apartment.
No, I'm staying with my best friend from high school. His name's Taylor Geis. I'm staying with his brother Shane in their house.
Oh, cool.
With
Okay.
him and his family and everything. It just worked out really cool because fighting here in Denver, I wanted to train in Colorado Springs because of the connection I have with Pariah MMA, and then having Shane here just made it easy. Like, they haven't charged me anything. They've been cooking me home. Like, I've been getting home cooked meals. It's been real. It's just like being at home, honestly.
That's good to hear. So let's talk about the weight cut. Obviously, this fight's coming up here soon. You're a pretty big guy, but how's all that going, especially being in Colorado now?
The weight cut's never a problem for me. It's funny. Everyone always, like, I see comments on posts all the time. Oh, he's gonna be the next, like, weight cut disaster, and people don't understand. Like, I don't walk. I'm 6'3", but I don't walk around that heavy. Like, this past fight against Richie was probably the biggest I've ever gotten. I think I got up to about 180. But then, like, after that, once I got into camp, it just fell off me. And I walk around in camp anywhere between 165 and 170. And at this point, I've gotten down to the point where I'm ending my days at 161. So it's not a problem at all for me. I actually have Ian Larios from the Lockhart and Leaf system coming out next week to help me with all that. So I'm hoping that for this fight, I won't have to do any actual cutting.
You mentioned Kyle and Joe and Khabib there. Who are some of the other guys you got to work with at AKA, and who are some of the training partners you get to work with in Colorado?
Some of my, like, other than Joe and Kyle and Khabib, my main training partners, there's this guy named Salim. I'm sorry, Salim. I just don't know how to pronounce his last name.
That often happens, yeah.
Yeah, no, Salim. But Salim's probably like one of the guys that pushes me the hardest when we go. My other roommate, Duran Wynn, he's always showing me great.
Got a fight coming up, big fight against Tom Lawler.
Cool thing about that fight, I'm actually going to I'm going to be cornering Duran for that fight.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be flying out to LA together. It's really cool, living in the same house with Kyle and Duran. Joe's fighting this weekend. I'm fighting next weekend. Duran's fighting the weekend after that, and then Kyle's fighting the weekend after that. So our house was it was like a perfect melting pot of, like, everyone in the same mindset. We're all after the same goal, and we were all trying to get after it at the same time. You know what I mean? We were all pushing each other. It was great. Great environment.
Morale must be really good, in the house and everywhere else, which is great when you're all getting ready together. Who's going to be in the cage with you that night? Who's cornering you?
So I'll have my boxing coach, my number one guy, Rosendo Sanchez. Couldn't fight without him in my corner at this point. My jiu-jitsu coach, Ron Kessler, and then I mentioned Drew Lawrence, the owner of Pariah. He's going to be in my corner as well. As much as I've worked with him over the years, and as much as I've worked with him the past couple weeks that I've been here, I felt it was only necessary to have him in my corner. And some of the guys that I've been training with out here, other than just Gilbert and Drew, there's a really good middleweight from Pariah MMA. His name's Aaron Chambers. He's only 2-0 right now as a professional, but he's already, in my opinion, he's already UFC caliber. He's one of those guys that you really need to watch out for. Chaz Alex, he's an amateur from Pariah, but he's just a stud wrestler. I think he fights at 125 and 135. And then Ashley Dean, she's gonna be fighting on the Queen of Sparta card in a couple weeks here in Colorado Springs. It's a crazy tournament where the first round is professional boxing, the second round is professional kickboxing, and then if you make it to the finals, it's professional MMA.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm
That's
excited.
unique. I like that.
Yeah, it's been a great environment here in Colorado Springs. You know, a lot of guys getting ready for fights as well, so everyone's morale's high. We're all pushing each other. I've had a great experience.
How does this fight play out on November 10th?
Um, I mean, this fight could play out a number of ways. It could be a war. Me and Mike could go in there and bang it out for a while. It could be a technical match on the ground. You know, we're both pretty decent guys on the ground. One of us could get caught and finished early. You know, I see this fight going anywhere, any way possible. You know, honestly, if you watch me fight, I'm coming to finish the fight no matter what. So in my eyes, I'm going out there to finish him.
What's next for you after this fight? Not looking past Mike here, of course, but do you have an idea of, if you come out of this healthy, when are you looking to fight again? Are you going to stay ready during the holidays just in case something comes up, or are you more going to reassess early 2019?
You know, it depends. If they were to come at me after I beat, or, after the fight with Mike, if I beat him, whatever, if they were to come with me and say, hey, we'd like you to have a quick turnaround, then obviously I'm getting right back in the room and getting ready for another fight. But best case scenario for me, I would get the time. I like the way this fight worked out. I like the timeline of this fight from my last fight. You know, I was able to kind of take July off essentially. I was still in the room. I was still training, but it wasn't nearly as hard, wasn't nearly as focused. I'd like to be able to do that with November, kind of, slowly work back into things in December, and then hopefully by January I'm getting into a camp for a fight in March.
Is featherweight at your future? This is something you've talked about even after your last fight.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to test the waters at featherweight. I think, like I said, I'm gonna have Ian Larios of the Lockhart and Leaf system coming out to help me, and I think after this fight, I plan on sitting down with him and kind of like seeing how we can do it, because at this point, it's like if I'm walking around the week before the fight at 155, in the lower 160 range, 145 doesn't necessarily seem that hard or that far off, in my opinion.
We're looking forward to this fight, though, in the meantime. This is actually a really great card coming up here. UFC Fight Night 139 on November 10th. Lewis, always a pleasure, man. Always appreciate you taking the time. Just to remind people where they can find you on social media. And if you got any sponsors or thank yous, the floor is yours.
Once again, James, I really appreciate you having me on. I've always enjoyed interviewing with you. Once again, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Violent Bob Ross, and I have a Facebook page, Violent Bob Ross Luis Pena. I want to give a huge shout out to my managers at First Round Management. They've done a great job in executing their roles in my career, as well as all my teammates and coaches, aka. Huge shout out to DC. I hope I know he's going to go out there and show people why he is the champ, why he is the double champ. And again, a huge shout out to my sponsors. I got High Extracts, CBD. They just became one of my new sponsors. RDX Sports, Aviles Translations LLC, Art Street Wheel and Tire. Hold on, I have an entire list. I've picked up quite
good. We got to get those in. You got to get paid, man.
Lace and Loop. They're actually it's a really cool like glove enhancing system for your lace up gloves. I swear by their product. Iron Jaw Custom Mouth Guards, Morir and Larea Clothing, Lana's Egg Whites, and that's about an Armored Nutshells LLC. They make an insanely cool bulletproof cup. I actually was able to give one to Khabib for the fight with Connor, so he was wearing one of my sponsors' bulletproof cups. It was really cool for them.